Good afternoon from Geneva. I'm Sandy Rodger from the Toilet Board Coalition. And yesterday was World Toilet Day. And today we're in the second of 3 days of the Toilet Board Coalition's virtual toilet summit. And this is a festival of content, of interviews, insights, announcements, reports, new information about sanitation. And we're running with the three themes of what we call the sanitation economy. So yesterday we started with material about the toilet economy. Today we're focusing on the circular sanitation economy. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about the smart sanitation economy. And these three things together represent the Toilet Board's transformational vision for sanitation, which we call the sanitation economy. And this is a way of converting sanitation from being a public cost and a cost that is really unaffordable in many countries into a business opportunity. So that's what the 3 days are about. Today we're focusing on the circular sanitation economy. So this is the place where the thinking about sanitation overlaps with the thinking about the circular economy. And we actually have a special dual audience to reflect that sort of double subject that we're dealing with. And this is being live streamed not only through the World Toilet Day Virtual Summit, but it's also going into the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's Disruptive Innovation Festival and reaching a circular economy audience. And both of you are very welcome. You may be watching live, and of course you may be watching the recorded version on toiletboard.org. Either way, you're very welcome. So an hour ago, we heard from Laurent Auguste, one of the top team at Veolia, who are one of our Toilet Board Coalition member companies. And he was talking about how we should stop talking about waste and talk about resources. That's what Veolia have done. That's what the Toilet Board is doing. We talk about toilet resources these days. We don't talk about human waste. And that reflects the idea that there is this circular model. There is this value to be found in the resources that flow through the sanitation system. And what we're going to do now in this session is we're going to take that thinking into a specific business sector. We're going to talk about agriculture. And, is it the case that these sanitation economy ideas can work in an agricultural plantation? And if they provide sanitation, that's important, but do they also provide other benefits? Is this good for the plantation operations, for the economics? Is it good for the environmental conditions, which are so important to run a sustainable, productive plantation? So these are the questions that we're going to get into. And we have a panel of four joining us who span a whole range of different areas of expertise here. So you'll see on the screen there, Prabhat, Pani and Anurag Priyadarshi. They are both from Tata. Prabhat is one of our board who's from Tata Trust, and Anurag is from Tata Beverages business. And this leads us to the real central point of today's session, which is we've been working with the tea industry in this work in 2018. And what Prabhat is going to do in a few moments, and Anurag will talk about it later, is to talk about a new report that's published and a new toolbox that has been developed looking at agricultural plantations. So we'll hear more from them about what's actually happened. But we also have with us today Sarah Roberts. Sarah's the executive director of the Ethical Tea Partnership. So that's an organization with more than 50 members across the tea industry. And they are working really hard to make the tea industry successful on all sides. So a successful business producing products for customers, but at the same time sustainable, at the same time providing good social conditions for employees and so forth. And Sarah and her team have been working alongside us on this project this year. We're going to start, however, with Pascale Guiffant, another of the Toilet Board independent directors. And Pascale, perhaps you can just lead us into this topic. So, why is the Toilet Board interested in agriculture? How did we come to be involved in this project, working with colleagues in the tea industry? Pascale.
Thank you, Sandy. Hello, everyone. Very happy to join this this discussion. So maybe to start, why agriculture is so important in the work of TBC, and why this is a sector we need to have a look on, especially when we talk about biological toilet resources and we talk about circular economy. Well, I would say the first point is that when we talk about agriculture, we talk about rural areas. And we know that today, rural areas are still lacking a lot of access to sanitation. So there is a first very important issue, which is the access to raise the access to sanitation in rural areas. And being able not just to install toilet, but being able to valorize the biological toilet resources might be one incentive also to develop more access to facilities for people living in rural areas. So I would say that would be the first reason, with of course tremendous impact on health, on feminine care. And I think that's a very strong impact that we are looking for, the first. The second one is that when we talk about circular economy in the sanitation domain, we are also looking at different kind of byproducts that can be produced through the valorization of biological toilet resources. And one of these byproducts is nutrients. It's having nutrient back be a very interesting, effective way to contribute to agricultural systems. Of course, there is issues to take care about, and being able to safely manage it, to use it in proper context. However, we think that it can bring some good environmental impact and also good economic. Let me give. Other waste, just biogas, which can be very interesting if you have a factory in your we can look at having and producing compost by mixing these resources and being able to bring back organic matter to the soil, which is much needed, and we know that this is an issue that we need to look at. So that's why looking at sanitation for agriculture and in rural context, three types of impacts. And I think the way forward, and I'm really looking forward to a discussion, is to be able to test this hypothesis, to be able to have in real life tests of the hypothesis, being able to also look at issues around safety, around security, which are and health, of course, which are very important. And I think identifying context and being able to set up projects that are very context is what we try to do in this case, because we know that depending type of production you will have, depending on the local context, depending on the perception of the workers, of the people that will use the toilets, of the customers behind, you will have very different ways of using the toilet biological resources. So
thank you. So let me just summarize briefly, because Pascale, the connection was a little bit intermittent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. It's this is live on the internet here. So so the essence there was that as the Toilet Board, we see economic opportunities, social opportunities, environmental opportunities in applying the ideas of the sanitation economy in agriculture, and we were very keen to start trying this in real life. I think I said on the interview with Laurent earlier, we're not a think tank, we're a do tank. We want to try things and make them work in a practical way. So so that's what we're about. Now let's turn to Sarah now. So you represent an industry here. What is your interest in sanitation, and what is it about this particular project that led you to get involved and work alongside us on this?
Thank you very much, Sandy. So yes, the Ethical Tea Partnership brings together companies all the way along the tea supply chain with partners, and we come together to accelerate our mission, which is to improve the lives of the workers, the farmers who are producing the tea that we're all drinking, the communities in which they live and work. And so we are tackling a whole range of issues, the root causes of a range of social issues, and sanitation sanitation remains a big challenge in many places. As Pascale said, it's a particular challenge in rural areas. If you take somewhere like Assam, where a lot of the Indian tea is grown, sanitation is a massive priority for India. There's a huge push to improve sanitation right across India, where I think almost 50% of the population don't have access to decent facilities. And for tea plantations, where you've got thousands and thousands of people living and working in quite remote areas, this has been an ongoing challenge to make sure that we've got facilities that are fit for purpose, well used by communities, and are able to continue to be well maintained. And we've seen this as a struggle that it has been ongoing for many years. So we were so excited to partner with the Toilet Board Coalition and see whether this different approach about thinking about sanitation from a circular economy perspective, bringing in entrepreneurs, thinking about how it could work more from a business perspective as well, could really unlock the way forward. Because improving sanitation is essential. If you don't have access to good quality facilities, you have a range of environmental and health and well-being benefits. And I think, as Pascale was challenging, that can be particularly problematic for women and girls. If you don't have access to a good, safe, hygienic space, then it's very difficult in your daily life and in terms of managing issues like menstrual health. So we're really looking for innovative partnerships that can help change things for good on tea plantations. And we were very excited to partner with our members and their suppliers and yourselves to move this forward. And I think one thing that I just wanted to highlight as well that I think is very important about the way that this feasibility study and the way that we work and the way that I know you work going forward is that this is only going to be successful if the people who are using it are at the heart of the design and the implementation. And so I know that as we went forward with this feasibility study, that was a really big part of the process, making sure that people were consulted. And I think that's essential in making sure that we make the sanitation facilities work well for both men and women. Thanks.
Sarah, thank you very much. So we've heard why the sanitation economy wants to work with agriculture, and we've heard why agriculture, in this case the tea sector, wants to work with the sanitation economy. But what have we actually done? And this brings us to Tata, members of both the Toilet Board and the Ethical Tea Partnership, which is sort of how this came about, really. And I'm going to turn to Prabhat Pani now to tell us about the project, to tell us about the report, which I think we even have a slide with the front cover of it ready to see. But of course, this is on our website, and you'll be able to read it for yourselves. But Prabhat, tell us about the project that we've done this year and about the report that we're now launching. Prabhat, you're on mute still. Okay. Try now. I think we can probably hear you now.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
That's it.
The Circular Sanitation Economy project in Assam is actually a collaboration, as you heard, between the Toilet Board Coalition, the Ethical Tea Partnership, Tata Global Beverages, Amalgamated Plantations, as well as it has support from Unilever and Tailors of Harrogate and a number of other expert advisors. So first, let me thank all the partners for the work that was carried out. This study was actually carried out at the Hathikuli Tea Estate of Amalgamated Plantations. It's a beautiful 687-acre property focusing on organic tea right on the periphery of the Kaziranga Rhino National Park in Assam, and has about 4,000 plus people living on the estate, which allowed it to be a great place for conducting this study. This is supposed to be the first of many such studies which will need to be done in different climatic zones and with different parameters to give us a true sense of what the circular sanitation economy in tea could be. Delighted that the project has now led to the release of the Sanitation Economy Report in Agriculture 2018. And I'm sure as we get around to doing more such studies, we will add to the body of knowledge that we have gathered. But let me talk about some of the key findings of the report that, as Sandy showed, is now available on the website. And those interested, I would exhort you to actually download it and take a look, because you'll find a lot of very interesting detail, not only in the sense of what it promises, but in the sense of newer possibilities that exist beyond tea in other crops and in agriculture as a whole. The first key thing was that the project actually allowed us to take a look at multiple options of being able to collect the toilet resources and also treat them. And this meant that a whole lot of very useful products could actually be generated: compost, biogas, fuel briquettes. And while all of these could not actually be examined in great detail in Hathikuli, and therefore the results which were arrived at in Hathikuli may not really be treated as universal, but it provides the framework by which different options could be examined in different conditions, and optimal solutions could be found for each of those conditions. However, what it clearly says is that the tea industry, and possibly many other such plantations, do have a real triple bottom line opportunity which can be examined in terms of the circular sanitation economy. A whole lot of parameters were looked at, both in terms of the capital costs as well as the operating costs, and a number of options were examined. And the good part was that at least in a couple of cases, there was a positive net present value for that particular option. What it meant was that not only were the operating costs being recovered as a result of the value creation, but some part of even the capital costs were being covered. So really speaking, what it shows is the possibility that by going this route, you would actually be able to generate value which could well offset the costs associated with it, whether it be the capital costs or the operating costs. The third part which we clearly saw, and this is covered in the report, is that not only are we talking about the very obvious improvement or reduction in terms of the ground and water pollution, but it's actually showing us a way of being able to reduce carbon emissions, because there is the possibility of generating renewable energy, which will clearly replace the current usage of fossil fuels, which is used as the energy source in most of the tea plantations. In the case of Hathikuli, what was done was also to focus significantly upon the community and understand from them which aspects would be acceptable and which are the ones which may require some bit of work to actually get them to look at those options going forward. So as an example, people were very comfortable to actually look at using electricity which would be produced out of the biogas. But there was some discomfort with regard to use of the biogas itself as a fuel in the home. People were quite comfortable with saying that they didn't mind if there was a processing plant on the tea estate, but they were a little uncomfortable if this was being talked about being done within their homes. And clearly, as one would expect, the single biggest gain which was seen was health. They clearly saw this as a motivator and something which would allow them to join the process of doing such a trial and making such a change, because the biggest benefit they saw at the end of it all was really improved health. And improved health clearly also means an improved possibility of a higher livelihood, a higher earning, which would improve their living conditions. The last part was that we were clearly looking at the way the current systems are designed, whether it is toilets, whether it is collection systems and treatment systems. And these are not really conducive to a circular sanitation economy. Because typically in cities, as you know, we use sewers and centralized sewage treatment. And typically in rural India, they use pits. Now, clearly, if we have to look at circular sanitation economy and the possibility of generating value out of the toilet resources, then there has to be work done with regard to looking at alternate designs of the toilet, alternate means of collection, and more efficient treatment, which will allow a lower cost and a higher value to be generated. The rest of it is all available in the report, and I'm sure you'll see great value examining it in detail. Back to you, Sandy.
Prabhat, thank you. Great summary. And so Prabhat said there that this was a study of one plantation in the tea sector. You know, he made it very clear that the findings are not universal because conditions vary between different crops and different plantations in different places. But there is a methodology there, a toolbox, which is designed to be more widely usable. So having done this and produced a report, very much from the Toilet Board's point of view, we see this as the start of something that should continue. And what I'm going to do now is go around the four panelists, including bringing Anurag, Priyadarshi in as well. I'm going to go around all four panelists, and let's talk about what should happen next to take this forward. I'll go in the same order as before, just to be to keep it simple. So Pascale, starting with you, what are your thoughts on what should happen next with this? Hoping we can.
Do you hear?
It's rather intermittent, Pascale. I think perhaps what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass to Sarah.
Right.
Pascale, I'm really sorry, but if we can't hear you, it's hard to use your expertise on this moment. So Sarah, what do you think should happen next with this?
Thanks, Sandy, and thank you, Prabhat, as well. I think I would just pick up on a few things that Prabhat said. I think it's essential now to carry on. We've done this first feasibility study that had some very positive indications, but as other people have said, even within the tea industry, even in Assam, you know, the estates are different, climatic conditions are different, the number of people living there are different. So I think we want to see how things can work in a broader perspective. But I'm really happy with the fact that we've got the feasibility study to build on. We've got the toolbox, which I think will really help get other companies excited about the potential. And I think it's really essential that as we move forward and try it out in other places, we keep, you know, that work that's been done so far in making sure that it works for men, women, boys and girls on estates, essential in the design and discussion process and as we move forward. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So let's turn to our colleagues in Tata. Gentlemen, you've been running with this already. You've worked very hard alongside us to do the feasibility study. Prabhat, briefly, and then I'll turn to Anurag from the beverages business in Tata. But Prabhat, what do you want to see happen next with this?
I agree with what Sarah was kind of indicating, that I think there is a need to take this into other geographies and check out how the model would need to be tweaked to arrive at conclusions which are similar or maybe even better. And then there's a possibility of actually taking it beyond tea. We have a lot of rubber in India, which is fairly well organized in the sense of plantations. There is also the central parts of India, which have some form of organized farming, even though it's not companies doing it, but they actually assist a whole bunch of farmers to do cultivation around soybean and sunflower and various other crops of this nature. So there's a possibility of actually examining this with other crops and other climatic zones and really sharpen that toolbox, which would then possibly help us look at maybe geographies even outside of India.
Wonderful. So there's lots of potential there. Let's turn to Anurag Priyadarshi. Anurag, you're in the Tata Global Beverages business. You work closely with the Amalgamated Plantations team in Assam, including at Hathikuli. So, I mean, being really practical about it, what do you see now happening as the next stage with the project?
Thank you, Sandy. Sanitation has been a bit of a challenge in the tea plantation sector, especially in Assam. And we believe that the sanitation economy in some ways closes the loop of nutrients, water, energy, and therefore, making these agricultural systems, which are at times somewhat not very economical in developing countries, it gives them some more economics and resilience. And at Tata Global Beverages, we are committed to sustainable beverage production and consumption. Circular economy is central to our natural beverages strategy, which is our sustainability strategy. And therefore, we very happily participated with you to understand this study at Hathikuli through amalgamated plantations, and the results have been encouraging. Like Prabhat gave all the details in terms of the various technological options and how we can take them forward. Tata Global Beverages, we would be very interested to have a demonstrator project and therefore also work with various solution providers. We would want, we are looking for options, people who can bring in innovative, cost-efficient solutions for this, to make this sanitation circular economy happen. I think we are, with collaboration with you and with Ethical Tea Partnership and with the other partners, I think we are looking for people to make this happen. Yeah.
Great, Anurag, thank you very much for that. And I mean, it's been great to have the team in Assam working so well on this, and particularly the people actually on the plantation in Hathikuli, including the many members of the community that I know our team spoke to. I mean, it has been a great effort from the people there, and a real desire to try out new solutions. And I think the thing I would say from the Toilet Board's point of view is, so the sanitation economy in agriculture is a big idea, as everybody has been saying, but there's also the question of the who does all of this. And part of what we do as the Toilet Board is we work with entrepreneurs, we work with people with new ideas, new business models, new technologies. And we've done that for 3 years in our accelerator program. Tomorrow we announce the 4th year of that. But what we're also trying to do is to broaden out the way in which we create opportunities for entrepreneurs. And over the last few months, we've had a tender running through the European Space Agency. Did you think that space technology applies to sanitation? Well, it does. And we've had entrepreneurs coming forward to get funding and doing projects. Now here, in what Anurag has said, is another such opportunity. So Tata want to take the feasibility study forward to be a demonstrator project. So that means we need to build and run a system, initially on a trial basis, but hopefully something that will become permanent, not only at Hathikuli, but in many other places. And as Prabhat said, there are so many potentials here in terms of geography and different crops and so on. So this is a really exciting opportunity for some of the entrepreneurs who are into the circular sanitation economy to work with a major company who really do want to try this out and get that triple bottom line benefit that Prabhat was talking about. So there we are, the report's online. Do have a look. If you're interested in getting involved, the contact details are built into the report, so have a look at that. I would really just like to thank all the people that have contributed to the project, and indeed very much to thank our panelists this afternoon. And Pascale, I'm really sorry we didn't hear quite so much from you as we would have liked, but a great sort of introduction there from you, which was much appreciated. So that's this session coming to an end. We're not done with the day's events. We move on in half an hour to have a session looking at business models within the circular sanitation economy. You're going to hear from 2 of these entrepreneurs that I was just talking about, together with Johan Clare from Veolia. Pascale is going to rejoin us, hopefully with a good connection. And we're going to talk about what this is really like in terms of creating working business models in the circular sanitation economy. So that's in half an hour. Later, there's a session also on investment, and you can see on the screen the details to find out all about the report, the webinars, and all the other elements of our week's program. Go to toiletboard.org and you will find everything there. Okay, thank you, and goodbye.